Now everybody, and welcome to the channel. My name's Brian, and in this one we're going to be looking at some gameplay from the Vikendi map that I played recently. We're going to do like an inside the mind sort of thing where I'm going to explain what my thought process is throughout the game and what I would do differently now that I look back on it. I like to do this so that I can learn the game and try and improve my gameplay, shall we say. I'm relatively new to PUBG. I've been playing just under a year now. But got a bit of experience with BRs. And hopefully, in return, some of you guys who have got a lot more experience than me can give me advice and suggestions on what you would do to make this gameplay a bit better. So let's get into it. The best dancer mode. I'm not really decided where I'm going to land yet, so I've just sort of jumped out of the plane and thought, sod it, I'm going for it. So normally I do actually like to plan my route a bit better than this. So this time I actually land somewhere where the loot is absolutely crap. Normally I tend to plan before I jump out of the plane, but I was just talking to chat, so I got distracted. This looks like the entrance to a mine shaft, which could be cool, because I didn't know this was here. So because there's so many maps on PUBG, and there's so many, like, different... the maps are massive, let's face it. I'm still learning after a year of playing this game. I don't know how many hours I've put in. Probably not that many, to be fair. But I'm still learning the map. Still learning that this sort of stuff is interesting. Here. And the loot was crap, so... well, yeah. we got one gun and then got out of here. Not that interesting that there's absolutely no weapons down here. Oh, there we go. It's better than I thought was down here anyway. Okay, red dot. Lovely. It's a bold strategy, Colin. So we've got ourselves an MP5K. This used to be my favourite gun, but as I've got more into PUBG, I've started using more 7.62 guns like the AK or the barrel. This is just all that was available, so that's what I used. So we've got a gun, which is, I suppose, better than we could have hoped for, really, given the situation. So I picked myself up an M4. I'm not a big fan of the M4. I know a lot of people like it. I'm really not a big fan. So I dropped this fairly quickly. I think I found an AUG, if I remember right. And swap it out for the AUG. I much prefer the AUG. We also had a 3x optic, which is not what we wanted. Okay, there's bears in there, so we're not going to go in there. I learned about those bears the hard way. I don't get why they're there, to be honest. I think it's one of the stupid things on this map, but it is what it is, isn't it? Alright, so now we've got some kind of guns. We're just going to rotate to the nearest town, basically, or the nearest housings. Try and get some better loot, because the loot that we did get was terrible. The red dot. Oh, the 3x. You what, mate? Okay, so we've come across an enemy in front of us. I'm not entirely sure if this is a bot. I get the impression it is, just by the way that they're just running in a dead straight line. But it's in a really random place. Whenever I see bots, normally they're running along roads or something like that if they don't have a weapon. But yeah. We get the kill anyway, and we go and loot them up. I think that was a bot, 100%, judging by the way they were running. So we find ourselves a level 1 vest and a medkit. Normally I like to carry 4 first aids, but if I find a medkit, I'll drop one of those first aids in exchange of the medkit. So I like the medkits, obviously, because they boost your health straight to the top. That guy had nothing on him, basically, so I'm definitely assuming it's a bot. Do 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 do. Alright, so we finally come across a place where we can get some decent loot. I should have probably breached and cleared this a little bit better before I went stomping in here, but I'm kind of a casual player. I know I stream and stuff like that, but To me, I'm streaming for the engagement with people and talking to people, not because I'm like an elite gamer or anything like that. So I have a gander around. We found ourselves a level 2 helmet and a level 2 vest at long last. And we just gradually work our way through the loot. We've got a backpack as well, as you can see. I do eventually swap one of my guns out for a AUG, which I run throughout the whole game, which is unusual for me because, like I say, I like to run 7.62 weapons. But for some reason, I picked the AUG up and stuck with it. I'd love a sniper. I really would. Jammer pack? 2 medkits? What? So we found ourselves a jammer pack. It's amazing how many people don't realize that jammer packs have literally no negative effects on your loot capacity unless you have a level 3 backpack and you swap it out for the jammer pack. 3 medkits. Streamer loot. Ah. We're gonna swap the MP5 out for the AUG because we're feeling feisty. I'll put a vertical grip on that. Drop this 9mm, take the 5.56. Alright, so we've got ourselves an M24, which is my favourite sniper that isn't a loot crate sniper in the game. We've got I think we've got a cheek pad on that, but I'm not entirely sure. But either way, we'll put one on, I'm sure we do. So we've got an M24. We've also got an AUG, and like I say, it's because I'm feeling feisty. Normally, I don't run an AUG. I run 7.62 barrel, AK, something like that. But every now and then, I just like to change things up, try different weapons, and get used to them, so I stay familiar with them in case it's all I can find. Not entirely sure where he was going, but anyway, here we are. We literally have no reason to move whatsoever because we've got some pretty good loot. Like I say, I've got no reason to move. I've got some decent loot. I'm relatively center zone. I could do with a pan, ideally, and maybe some attachments. I don't think we perhaps like is an 8x optic or something like that. 6x, 8x. Because we've got a 4x, which isn't the end of the world, but be great if we had a better one. So this area over here is going to be pretty hot, so I feel like people are going to be rotating in. So at this point, I'm talking about the deco area, but I'm also talking about train station, just because of the way the flight path is flying directly over the top of them. So I need to be aware that there's going to be a lot of traffic coming from there. Where I am right now is going to be quite calm, quite chilled out, so I'm quite happy to stay here. Like I say, I have no reason to rotate out. I do eventually, but we'll discuss that in a bit. It's not the most thrilling experience right now, I can appreciate that. So I'm just going to rotate out a little bit and do a bit more looting. Ooh, I don't have a crowbar. Alright then, I think there's one in that building we've just looted actually, so I might go pick that up. Yeah, we'll go pick that up. Seem to remember the... Yeah, there it is. So I tend to very rarely bother with these crowbar rooms, just because every time I go in there, there's not really much in the way of loot. So it's only because I've just got the time to spare that I do it this time around. I've got no reason to move, like I say, so I might as well just loot this building while we're waiting. Lovely. Right, we don't need to go anywhere. So in my opinion, the one thing I really need to find now is a pan. From my spectating Solo's bingo video series, the one thing I've noticed a lot of, especially new players, don't do they don't get pans. They don't realize that they're bulletproof. It's like having an extra shield on you, basically. So I desperately need to find a pan. That's my main priority. A pan would be nice, actually. I'm going to be perfectly honest, a pan would be super duper right now. So I'll pick up a boost in the form of painkillers here. One thing I've noticed from spectating people is that a lot of different people like to use different boosts predominantly. So me personally, I'm a big painkiller fan. But I see a lot of people... 556 we got, yeah, we'll take a bit more. I see a lot of people carrying purely energy drinks. Whereas for me, I'm a big painkiller fan. So, you know, let me know down in the comments what you prefer. Do you prefer painkillers? Do you prefer energy drinks? If I find an adrenaline shot, I literally burn it. I pick it up, use it, and forget about it. Just because of the time it takes to use an adrenaline shot. What I do for a pan... A panny pan. Alright, so we've got ourselves a supply drop. I am a huge supply drop fan. I go and loot these bad boys, even when I probably shouldn't. Which is probably what happens here, essentially. So I can see exactly where the supply drop is. I often like to get a grocer if I can, or a lynx. I love the lynx, and I love the orm as well. Other than that, I'm not too bothered. Seems like a way away. Probably the center of this zone. That's a glider going for it. That was pretty close by. So one of the things I struggle with is spotting people. Somebody did actually comment on one of my latest videos saying that they recommend running 120 Hz on their frame rate. Just because it divides into 30 and 60 a lot better than the 165 I currently run. So I'm going to try that, just to see if it makes a difference. Because when I watch streamers, they instantly like see people, and it's something I really struggle with, so I'm trying to improve that. The only thing I'm not keen on is the fact that I don't have a pan right now. I'd be very happy if I had a pan. I've also become accustomed to the 8x scope now as well. I never used to like it just because of how much screen space it takes up. I used to prefer the 6x. But I've got the hang of the 8x now, and I really like it. So we've got to our supply drop now. At this point, I'm fairly certain there'll be somebody here. It took us a long time to get here, so I'm just doing a bit of scoping out, seeing if we can see anybody. And sure enough, there is somebody crawling around there. I'd take a shot if I remember right, but because I've got super duper accuracy, I miss. Oh, no, I get him. All right, get on. But I missed the follow-up, so yeah. Every day I'm improving. That's all I can say. Obviously, that guy knows I'm here now, and there's going to be other people aware of my approximate location because of the sound of the shot. So I've got to be careful when I go to loot this supply crate now. I could have used a smoke. Personally, I tend to try and avoid smokes where possible, just because obviously it gives away your location. I prefer to try and just use the natural cover around me to negotiate situations like this. You saw the guy creep into that house straight ahead of me there. That's the same guy I just shot at. So I was actually kind of disappointed with the loot that was in these crates. I don't know whether somebody had been here before that other guy as well. because it's distinctly lacking. There's not very much in the way of anything that I'd like, to be honest. No guns or anything like that, so it was sort of almost a waste of time me coming over here, but you never know unless you try. So I'm doing something that I'm not a big fan of here. I'm actually proning it, or what I nickname prone boning. I don't like being prone. It makes you very susceptible because your movement is so slow. It takes you a long time to get out of the prone position. So I actually prefer to normally crouch walk, but it's just because that guy knows I'm here, so I stick with the prone positioning. We get up to the care package, and it's a FAMAS. Personally, I'm going to stick with the AUG. I picked it up at the beginning of the match, which I normally wouldn't have done, and I'm just going to stick with it just because, like I say, I was feeling feisty, thought I'd try something a bit different. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of the FAMAS anyway. I don't think it's that great for a crate weapon, so I tend to only pick it up when, again, I'm feeling like I fancy a bit of a change. I don't think it's a very powerful weapon. Why am I not moving? Take pity on me. I'm still getting used to mouse and keyboard. You're talking to a controller player here, alright? So I'm coming over to the light side. I am gradually getting the hang of mouse and keyboard. So, yeah. That happens quite often. I don't know what was going on with them loot crates, but there was jack all in them. So I've got myself in a bit of a predicament here. Because I know there's two people in these houses around me, and then we've also got this guy on top of the hill sniping as well. So I'm in a bit of a hot position here. So I'm just sort of taking my time, scouting the area out, scoping that hill out, obviously. I do come across this guy laid prone in a moment. Takes me a while to figure out if he's alive or dead. They're dead. That's a dead body. So that guy's dead, but he was shooting at me. So who killed him and where are they? So now I'm scouting the rest of the hill out, trying to find out where the guy that killed them is. And I do spot them. You can just see them behind the trees there. I'm quite proud of this because, like I say, normally I'm not very good at spotting enemies. You can hear there's a BRDM in the background. Okay. I wish I'd paid more attention to the fact that there's a BRDM in play. It's something I didn't really get too bothered about. I'm taking some shots at him. He can't figure out where I am, which is good news. But he does decide to retreat because of that. Again, we know there's people in these houses in front of me. So we have to be aware of that at all time. That they could hear my shots and decide to push me while I'm being distracted by something. That ladder's just pulled up over there. I assume they're going to loot this supply drop. And that's why they've pulled up there. They did it very bolshily, to be fair. They don't know how many people are in these houses. Whether anybody's camping that loadout. But they just rocked up and got on with it anyway. Alright, so we finally got some action around these houses. That could actually be a third person. That could be the guy from the ladder that has broken into that, or broken that glass. So there could be 3 enemies in this compound now. But I think there might have just been 2. I think that might have been somebody that was camping here all along. We get this car that pulls up, and they are completely oblivious to the fact that I'm here, unfortunately for them. They go into this little hut to camp it out. You wouldn't catch me doing such disgusting plays. No, you definitely would catch me doing such things. And he's dead, just like that. Like I say, I'm not normally an AUG user, but the recoil, I can understand why people use it, because the recoil is pretty much non-existent, to be honest. In comparison to, like, the barrel, it's point and shoot, basically. Come on, have a pan. Nope. So these last few zone pulls are really quite awful. I wish I'd managed to get a ghillie suit out of that supply crate, because there is hardly any cover. There's some cover just on the northern edge of the next circle, but yeah, it's an awful rotation to have to make. Don't have any smokes, I've just realised. So somebody was shooting at me from the compound. I instantly pressed that Z key to lay prone. It's all I could do in that situation. Fortunately, they get third-partied. That's a BRDM on us. I don't have any smokes as well, which makes this end zone even more awful. I'm terrible for not picking smokes up. It's something I definitely need to improve on. Sounds like they are. I know we're proning here. And I hate it when people prone, but we do know that there's somebody behind us and they're aware that we're here. Again, we're going back to that proning situation. Not a fan of being prone at all, just because your movement's so slow. And getting out of that prone, the animation to get out of the prone position takes so long. You're just a sitting duck. But in this position, in this situation, I have no cover at all. There's that tree there, but like I say, I've got that guy behind me, so I'm kind of screwed. All I can do really is just sit at the edge of the zone like I am, edge of the next circle, and hope for the best. I don't have any smokes, and that is not good for the current situation. I'm going to rotate out while everybody's distracted by that BRDM. Okay, so the plan worked. We stayed calm. We just sat there. We waited. We knew they were going to have to rotate in. They were behind us. We knew we were going to have to move. They were going to have to move at some point. Now we're being sniped from across the road by another person. This guy didn't have any smokes. That sucks. Like I say, rather frustratingly, that guy didn't have any smokes either, so that's obviously why he didn't use any smokes for this rotation in. And now we're being sniped from across the road. If I remember right, this guy had a ghillie suit, which really wasn't very helpful. I wanted the ghillie suit, but we were being shot at by a guy that had a ghillie suit. That BRDM is causing havoc. It's not making the rotations very easy at all. So at this point, I just get up and run. Okay, it's going to take me too long to crawl in. Also, don't forget that in terms of rendering, if people have the graphics settings really low, the grass sometimes doesn't render in, and you're just like stood out bold as brass in the middle of an open field, essentially. So that's something to be aware of about the prone situation as well, is it's not always the case that you're lying in long grass on somebody else's monitor. So I actually crawl up to these trees. The reason being, it's going to be harder for the BRDM to run me over if I'm tucked up in these trees here, because obviously you can't rotate around them. I am being the prone boner right now. Boosting up, in these final zones, you've got all those boosts in your bag. You need to start using them just for them rolling heals, keep your mobility up and whatnot. As soon as you get into these final circles, you need to keep that boost bar topped up as much as you can. So we got a guy taking some shots at the BRDM. It's the right thing to do if you've got the right weapon. Unfortunately, I have an AUG, which isn't ideal for shooting a BRDM. I sworn I had a jammer pack earlier on. So ideally, I'd have had my MK or a barrel, and that would actually do some decent damage to the BRDM. But the AUG, it's just going to tickle it. So I'd rather keep a low profile, not give away my positioning. And just let everybody finish themselves off. There's 5 alive, so 4 enemies. At this stage in the game, I'm wanting to keep quiet and make sure nobody knows I'm here. There's 4 alive in this last circle. Like I say, I really do wish I had a 7.62 AR just to get some shots into this BRDM. Somebody's tossing nades. Ideally, I'd have had a Panzer, because, you know, you could shoot that BRDM with a Panzer, and the guy inside, it's dead straight away. You can also use a Lynx. I think you can 2-shot a BRDM. I'm not entirely sure about that, man. I might have that slightly wrong. Or a C4. But I very rarely carry C4s. So I very rarely carry the Panzer, actually. But a Panzer would have been ideal in this situation. Like I say, I wish I'd paid more attention to the BRDM earlier in the game. I might have been able to pick a Panzer up. So we did hear this guy ahead of me move in. So I knew he was somewhere around here. It just so happens that he's right in front of me. I could see his helmet through the grass. So that was a nice, easy, basically free kill. 3 alive, me and 2 enemies. I wish I'd played this slightly differently. I wish I'd looted this guy in front of me to see what weapons he had. Because if he had a 7.62 weapon, I'd have swapped that out. You know, if he had a barrel or an AK or even an ace. Balls of steel there. The fact that I didn't move, I just sat still. And then I'd have been able to swap that out and get some shots into this BRDM and maybe disable it. Alright, so it's me and the last guy. Like I say, I wish I'd played this differently. I wish I'd looted the enemies that I'd killed, see what weapons they had. Instead, I'm not familiar, as you can see.
Well played. There was nothing I could do about it. I didn't have any lethals or anything like that.
I'm not familiar with this this situation with the BRDM in the end zone. So yeah, I wish I'd looted the other people up. What I was trying to do there was I was trying to climb on top of the BRDM, but obviously he heard my footsteps and just ran me over. So yeah, I wish I'd looted the enemies' bodies up and used a 7.62 AR or something like that just to get some shots into him, seeing what lethal equipment they had, frags, Molotovs, stuff like that. And basically just assaulted him with all of that. I was kind of screwed. The end zone was awful, so it is what it is. If you have got any advice, please let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you fancy it. I upload regularly about PUBG. And until the next one, thanks for watching, and cheers for now.